What's going on, sports fans? John from Odyssey Sports back at you with another video, and I'm here with my friend Sam, diehard football fan, diehard Nets fan. Sam, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, my name's Sam, and I'm in the process of maybe filming a YouTube video in the near future for my channel, The Burrough, which I'll be discussing the Brooklyn Nets and their season and things to come. And I'm just here with my friend John just to talk about what he has planned, the playoffs, Deshaun Watson, and I'm a big Jets fan, obviously, and we'll talk about that later. So yeah.
I'll be sure to drop Sam's channel in the description, so be sure to go check that out, guys. So let's just jump right into this video. So in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about the playoffs coming up here this weekend. Have six huge playoff games going on in the wild card round this weekend. We also have some big news coming out of the NFL this week with Deshaun Watson, his situation over there in Houston. And the Texans also just signed a new GM that Deshaun wasn't very happy about. So we'll get into that. And the draft is coming up here in a couple months, so we'll get into that too. Sam's a Jets fan. I'm a Giants fan. We'll be talking about what we think our teams will do with the picks upcoming here soon. So Sam, let's jump into the draft or into the playoffs. So first, we have the 7th seed Indianapolis Colts going to the 2nd seed Buffalo on Saturday at 1:05. What are your predictions for that game?
It's tough because Cincy's not Cincy. Indianapolis is a really good team. I think they have a really good defense. But Buffalo, in my opinion, is the best team in football right now.
Oh,
They're
really?
peaking at the right moment. Josh Allen is, in my opinion, behind Mahomes, the best quarterback. He's right there. I love Stephon Diggs. I love what he's been doing. And on the flip side, I love the defense of the Indianapolis Colts, but I just don't think they're going to be able to stop Josh Allen and the Bills. But I'm going to go the Bills in that one.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna take the Bills in this game, 14-10. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, although the Bills have a huge offense. Diggs and Allen are probably the best wide receiver quarterback duo in the league. But there's a lot of keys to victory here for the Bills. Like I said, the Bills have a great passing attack with Josh Allen. You think that Josh Allen's behind Mahomes in terms of quarterbacks in the league? Um, you could even argue that Allen is number one. The Bills have probably one of the most potent offenses in the NFL right now. Stephon Diggs is the receiving leader. He's also a reception leader this year in the NFL. He had a fantastic year, 1,500 receiving yards. And the Bills rank third among teams in the passing attack with almost close to 300 yards per game. And the Colts defense ranks 20th against the pass. So I think that'll be a big problem for them. What are the keys to success for the Colts on defense this week, do you think?
I think it's just minimizing Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen because the weakness of the Bills, in my opinion, is the run game. They don't really have a Jonathan Taylor, a Alvin Kamara. They don't have a really good running back. I mean, they have all right running backs and Zach Moss, who's a rookie, and Devin Singletary.
Mhm.
But it's about minimizing the pass game. Force the Bills to run. If you take away Josh Allen, take away Stephon Diggs, a completely different game. And another note, I just want to say this is an interesting game to watch as a Jets fan because the offensive coordinator for the Bills and the defensive coordinator for the Colts are two of my top choices to be the Jets head coach, and Brian Dable is my number one. So it's gonna be fun to watch. But I just think the Colts are gonna be outmatched by the Bills offense.
If,
Yeah,
if I think if the Colts, if they really can get to Josh Allen and throw him off his game, get him out of the pocket, get him scrambling, keep him guessing, I really think that the Colts have a good chance at winning. They have a good pass attack. They have Justin Houston, who had 8 sacks this year. The guy's getting old up there in age, but he's still very productive. And you have the All-Pro defensive tackle in DeForest Buckner with 9.5 sacks this year, and he got snubbed
yep.
from the Pro Bowl, which I think was a travesty. But I believe it or not, I think the Colts do have a chance. They have a weak offense led by Philip Rivers. They have a really good running attack, like you said, with Jonathan Taylor. But I really do think the Bills will come out on top here. Their passing attack is just way too overpowered, I think, for this defense. But the game will definitely be interesting, no doubt. Um, I also wanted to say that the Colts, like, if they really want to jump at an opportunity to win, they have to pound the ball because they're 11th in the league in rushing, and Buffalo, uh, I don't think that their running defense is very effective. So I really think if the Colts want to win, they're gonna have to pound the ball. They have Naheem Hines back there too. They also have Jordan Wilkins. I'm not sure if he's playing, but they do have a powerful backfield. And if Philip Rivers can manage the game and if they can keep control of the ball on the ground, I think they do have a good chance at winning. But again, I'm taking the Bills 14-10.
As for score, I think the Bills will score more on that defense. I think it'll be like a mid-20s to low 30s game. So I'm going to go 28-23 Bills.
Okay. I like that score actually. So what do you think about the Rams and Seahawks coming up this weekend?
I'm going to have to go Seahawks. I think the Seahawks have a real opportunity to actually make the Super Bowl. I think the NFC is kind of weak this year when it comes to teams compared to the AFC. And I love the Russell DK combo. I'm a big fan of Russ, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just think on the Rams side, I think Jared Goff isn't really that good, and he's come off a broken hand, I think.
Mhm.
And the Rams don't have as much mojo as they did a couple years ago when they're in the playoffs when they made the Super Bowl. And I just think the Seahawks are a better team. They've owned them all year, besides I think one game where they lost. And I just think the Seahawks are just going to overpower them. And this is the game that I think is going to be the lowest scoring out of all of them. I think.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think the Seahawks have a good offense, but they have a tendency to play down a lot. And I don't really know if this is going to be a shootout. I don't think Jared Goff is going to lead the Rams or anything. And Cam Akers, I think, is questionable. I could be completely wrong. I know he's banged up. I know he was banged up last week. So their biggest running back. So a lot of things need to go well for the Rams to compete with the Seahawks. I just think the Seahawks are a little bit better. And I think their defense has been performing well. And I want to see Jamal go to the Super Bowl. So
This is where I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Sam. I actually have the Rams in this game. I don't think it's like you said. I don't think it's gonna be really a high scoring game. But either Rams winning 20-16. If Jared Goff is healthy, I think the Rams really do have a good chance at winning this game. If they don't, then they're not gonna win. They had that backup. I forgot his name. The scrambler.
John Wolford.
Yeah.
John Wolford, yeah, he's good.
He
It's actually pretty good.
he managed the game. I mean, he threw a pick, but he won against the Cardinals to secure them a playoff berth. So, I mean, maybe it isn't all that bad if Jared Goff doesn't play, but they need him to win. Jared Goff is inconsistent at times. He turns over the ball, but he's still not a bad quarterback. He's still one of the I wouldn't say the better quarterbacks in the league, but he's mid pack. He's not a bad quarterback. Um, and really, I think the Rams they have a really high scoring offense, really potent offense. They're 11th in the league in yards per game. They have a great defense. They arguably have one of the best secondaries in the league. They have Jalen Ramsey. They have Darius Williams. I think the rookie Jordan Fuller at safety, all playmakers in that secondary. And Jalen Ramsey just clamps down DK whenever they play. I have a stat right here. So through the two games that they played this year, DK only caught 8 passes on 12 targets for 87 yards, no touchdowns. Last week against Arizona, he only had 1 catch on 4 targets against Jalen Ramsey. So I think the key to really winning this game for Los Angeles is shutting down DK, even shutting down Tyler Lockett because he's a great wide receiver too, and Russell's looking his way too. Um, and even stopping Chris Carson on the ground because Chris Carson, he's an underrated running back and he can come out of nowhere sometimes, have a big game. So they really have to lock up there at their with their front seven with Aaron Donald and get to Russ and I think get to Chris Carson to win this game.
I agree with. I mean, I'm going for the Seahawks, but
Yeah.
those are all fair statements. I think one thing to note is that the Rams are getting Cooper Kupp back and Andrew Whitworth, which might be a huge addition to protect Jared Goff's blind side there in the left tackle from I think what's his name, Carlos Dunlap. So I think he plays for them. I think that's him. But yeah, the Rams are getting some key pieces back in time, and it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm going to go 17-10 Seahawks. I really don't think it's going to be that high scoring. I think it's going to be probably the most boring game out of all of them.
Think Jamal is going to get any sacks on Jared Goff?
I hope so. I'm like the Jets fan that does not hate. I'm like the only Jets fan that does not hate Jamal for leaving. Like I don't blame him. The Jets are terrible. They had a lot of problems this year, and I don't really blame him for wanting to get out, to be honest. So I'm gonna always root for him.
Yeah, I like Jamal. He's a great player. He's more of like a linebacker in my opinion compared to a defensive back, but I don't like him as a person. His personality, he's kind of a diva a little bit. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how Jamal plays, and I know that you're rooting for him, but just part of me just can't root for him.
Yeah, He has a personality that some people might not like, but I personally, when he came to New York, I loved him right
Yeah.
away. I loved that personality, that confidence. I thought that's something the Jets needed, and unfortunately, we just got rid of him. But we got to go trade back. I think the trade was really good.
He's like the blueprint for players like Isaiah Simmons right now. And
Yeah.
my like,
Yes,
if Isaiah
exactly.
Simmons wants to do really well in this league, like emulate what Jamal Adams is doing, because he had like
I think
9 or 10
Isaiah Simmons
sacks.
is a little bit more coverage. I
Yeah,
think, right? I think
yeah,
he's a little bit more coverage, but same thing. You play linebacker, you play safety. You can even
exactly.
line up in the slot sometimes. So, yeah.
Put him in the box, and you could have a future Jamal Adams. Who knows? Maybe one that is better in the pass game too. But
Mhm.
anyways, let's move on from the Rams games, guys. We're gonna talk the Bucks and the Washington football team. Sam, who do you have taking that game?
This is the game I think is to be the most underratedly good game. I've rated the Washington football team once they started getting Alex Smith back and they started going on a roll. I remember watching ESPN and they would go, I want the Giants to win the NFC East. I think they're going to win it. And no offense, I was like, why not the Washington football team? I'm watching this front seven play. I'm watching Chase Young, Teron Payne, Montez Sweat, and I'm just watching a really good, well coached football team who does not have a great record, but they have some good quality wins. They have an elite defense, and I think the key is at the Giants, as Justin Tuck and Michael Strahan know, you got to get into Tom Brady's face if you really want to phase him. And this is a team that I think can get into Tom Brady's face and really phase him, start throwing him off throws and make him move, which is not his necessary strong suit. So I'm going to go the underdog pick, and I want the Washington football team to win, not only because I like Alex Smith, and I just like the team in general. I'm a big Antonio Gibson fan. Um, so I'm going to Washington football team. This one's going to be, I'm going to say they won't put up any more than 20 points again. I'm going to go 17-14 football team.
17-14 football team. All right. So what you just said there, Washington, kind of coming out of nowhere and stealing the division from the Giants. As a Giants fan, that after, especially after we beat Seattle, that really lurked in my mind. Um, Washington, they're kind of like a sleeper team. Their defense is amazing. Their front seven, or not their front seven, their defensive line is probably, you could argue that they're the best in the league, maybe behind the Steelers. But as a Giants fan, like as the season started to close out, I got scared that Washington would take the division, and eventually they took the division. Um, and as much as I'm rooting for Washington, because the Giants and the Washington football team have always been at the bottom in the NFC East. They've always been dominated by the Cowboys and the Eagles, and finally Washington is having their moment. They won the division. They're going up against Tom Brady. They're the underdog, but a lot of people are favoring them, and it's not a good matchup for the Bucks at all, or Tom Brady, especially going all the way up to Maryland to face them. Um, I agree with you. I really do think that the football team can win, but I have the Bucks winning in this game. The Bucks are favored by 8, and I have them winning by 10. Um, Alex Smith is questionable. He's still nursing that calf injury. You saw him against Philadelphia on Sunday night last week, and he did not look good. Ron Rivera even talked about actually switching quarterbacks, rotating between quarterbacks. So you might not even see Alex Smith in the game as much as you thought you would. But I mean, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady does. I mean, I feel like he has a lot to lose, but he doesn't. This is kind of like a win or bust season for Tampa,
Mhm.
especially Bruce Arians. I think they have such a potent offense. Their wide receivers are just so dangerous, and I really think Tom Brady can get it done like he's been doing all season. I have Tampa Bay winning this one by 10, like I said.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, in my opinion, is the team that could go out in the first round or go to the Super Bowl. They're
Yeah,
that talented. It's whether they get. I mean, the Jets have more wins against playoff teams than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have all year.
seriously,
Yes,
I
the
did
Tampa
not
Bay,
know that.
the Bucks only beat the Packers by a lot, but they haven't beat any playoff team since like week 5 or 4.
Mhm.
I think they played. So yeah, I mean the Bucks have such a good. They have a talented defense. Todd Bowles has really changed that defense around in his 2 years. Tom Brady's obviously Tom Brady. They got weapons around him. But the biggest thing is Washington needs to attack the ground game. As you see them lose against the Rams, I think on Monday Night Football,
Mhm.
um, in the middle of the season, they rushed it like 4 times. Like they can't do that. They have to rush it at least 10, 15 times. Get Tom Brady in the game, get the play action going on this young defense, and that's their keys to the game, I think. But I'm going to go Washington just because I'm rooting for them. But Bucks have the potential to go to the Super Bowl or go to the NFC Finals
And like you were mentioning earlier,
championship.
talking about Antonio Gibson, how much you like him. I love Antonio Gibson. I think he's a really underrated running back. He's only a rookie. He's a late round draft pick. I think he was a fourth round pick or something like that. Besides James Washington, I think I don't know. I think him, Jonathan Taylor, and James Washington are the best running backs taken out of this year's draft. Antonio Gibson was a scoring machine, and if Washington feeds him the ball like they should have been doing all season, I think they can. They really do have a good chance against Tampa Bay. But Tampa
Yes.
Bay, they rank top five in everything on defense, so it's going to be hard for Washington to get it going on the ground.
Especially with not a good offense necessarily. They're not
Mm,
very electric. They have Scary Terry, which I'm a huge fan of. They have Logan Thomas, but
Logan
necessarily don't
Thomas,
have a
yeah.
they necessarily don't have a good thrower of the ball. I like Alex Smith, but he's more of a field general.
Mm.
He's not necessarily like a guy that's going to go out there and win the Super Bowl for you guys. He's not like a Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar. So I mean, this is gonna be an interesting game because the Bucks either blow them out or they're gonna lose. That's how it's gonna be. I
Bucks
don't
are
think it's gonna
a
be
polarizing team too, so
yes.
it can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, right before we move on to the next game, um, do you think like what do you think Washington's gonna do like prior to this like after this season? What do you think they're gonna do?
At
Especially with
quarter,
Alex Smith.
quarterback wise,
Yeah.
um, I think they're a team that could trade for Deshaun Watson. I
Oh, really?
yeah,
You think so?
yeah, I think they're a team that could be very scary, dark horse to get him. I would love to see him in Washington. I like Washington a lot. I like Ron Rivera a lot. I
Mm.
also think you could see them draft, maybe trade up in the draft to draft a guy like if Justin Fields falls, or if Zach Wilson falls, or they want to go up and pick Trey Lance or Mac Jones. They like any of those guys. You could see him draft a quarterback in the first round. Because other than that, I would say their team is pretty much set. I think they have a good right guard and sure they
Mm.
have a good tight end. They have a good receiving core. Um, so I think quarterbacks their main need. They're going to go aggressively for a quarterback this year. Whether we trade Sam Darnold to the football team, that might be another thing. We might want to. They might want to. Hey, do you have Sam? What do you want for Sam Darnold? All right, we'll take a second round pick or whatever. It's they're going to go aggressively for a quarterback. I think in free agency. I think they need to if they want to stick in the NFC East because the NFC East, like the Cowboys, are going to be without. If Dak didn't get injured, the Cowboys would have ran away. I think.
Yeah, I
But
have
yeah,
to agree with you there, honestly.
mm,
Yeah. Is Alex Smith, is he your comeback player of the year?
he has to be.
Yeah,
There's no other player that comes close.
that's
There's
what I
just
like to
no
hear.
players.
You gotta love Alex Smith. You can't hate
Mm-hmm.
on the Washington football team. They have such a
Yeah.
Cinderella story this year. But anyways, guys, let's get into the next game. We have the Ravens at the Titans this Saturday. Ravens are favored by 3. Who do you have taking in that game?
This is such a tough one because I'm also a big not Vikings, Titans fan. I love Derrick Henry. He's one of my favorite players in the league by far.
Yeah.
I love the way how he plays. I love his attitude. But this is tough because the Ravens don't really perform in the playoffs, but this might be their year. Some people are projecting them because they're getting hot. They're getting hot, really hot towards the end of the year. So I mean, I'm gonna the safe pick. I'm probably gonna go Ravens, and I think the Ravens will probably win by 10. I really think. I mean, you saw how the Titans played against the Browns. I mean, they're a very inconsistent team, very inconsistent. So you don't know what they could show up. Derrick Henry could have 250 yards in their head and 3 TDs, and that's a different story. But I think I'm gonna go Ravens. I think it's gonna be like 30-20 game. I think it's gonna be pretty high, relatively high scoring, and yeah, I'm gonna go Ravens.
I have the Ravens taking this one too. Like you said, they have momentum coming into the playoffs. Lamar
Mm-hmm.
has a chip on his shoulder. They lost against Tennessee last year. I think even in week 11, the Titans, when they were facing the Ravens, they're dancing like center field on the logo. And then Jim Harbaugh got pissed off or John Harbaugh, sorry, got pissed off, went out and
Yeah.
gave them a piece of their mind. So I think the Ravens really do have a chip on their shoulder. They have the best rushing attack in the league. They have Lamar, they have J.K. Dobbins, Gus the Bus Edwards. Mark Ingram's kind of taking a back seat, but he's always there. And Tennessee is ranked 19th against the run, which is not very good.
Yeah.
Tennessee's defense is. I like Tennessee's defense. I feel like there's promise there, especially with a young guy like Jeffrey Simmons as one of your speed rushers up front. But They're just so inconsistent. Even Derrick Henry, he's a 2,000 yard rusher, but like you said, he could have like a 250 yard rushing game and multiple scores. But I feel like Derrick Henry can also, you know, have like 10, like maybe even 15 rushes for 50 yards. And I feel like the Ravens can really neutralize him because the Ravens do have one of the better defenses in the league. And and you also have Ryan Tannehill, one of the best game managing quarterbacks in the NFL, and you have AJ Brown, young stud out wide receiver, just out of 1,000 yard receiving season. But that secondary, that Baltimore secondary, that front seven, you have a young stud at like Patrick Queen at linebacker. They're really well balanced defense, and I think that Mike Vrabel and this Titans offense is going to have a hard time game planning for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens are going to win this one. I like Lamar to get his first playoff win.
I hope so.
And yeah, I mean, I like Lamar as a person. I just wouldn't like to see him lose again and then get all the slander, for not playing well. Unless he plays well, he throws 5 TDs and still they can't win or something.
The Titans do have the blueprint to win against the Ravens because they went against them week 11. You just got to I feel like you have to spread the ball out with Ryan Tannehill. Look multiple different guys, Jonnu Smith at tight end, Corey Davis. And you got to feed Derrick Henry the ball no matter what. I mean, that guy's just an animal. He's so hard to take down.
Yeah.
I think this game will be another shootout, just like it was in week 11. I have the Titans winning though, 31-28.
This is the game I'm most excited for out of the whole wild card weekend. This is the game I'm going to watch the most. I think it's 1 o'clock. Is it 1 o'clock on Sunday?
Uh, where is
Or
it?
is it Saturday? Or is it tomorrow? It's either one. It's one
I think
o'clock
it's
on one of
Sunday.
the games.
I think it's Sunday. I think it's Sunday at 105. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna be watching. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's tomorrow or Sunday. I'm gonna be watching all the games anyways. So that's the game I'm most excited for.
I'd have to agree with you. I think the Bucks game and this game I'm especially excited for. I feel like they're going to be not. I mean, I wouldn't want to say both games are going to be shootouts, but they're going to be very close games in my opinion.
Hmm.
So let's move on to the Bears and the Saints. The Saints are favored by 10. You have Mitchell Trubisky coming in this game with the Bears. Who do you think is going to take this one?
If you're betting, I wouldn't bet on the Bears. I don't think it's gonna be. I think the 10 spread is pretty good. I think they can cover that. I think the Saints aren't that good this year. They're good, but they're not that good. They're not like a couple years ago when they lost to the Rams in the playoffs. I think Michael Thomas is just not. It's going to have a down year.
Mm.
I think the savior for them this playoffs is going to be Alvin Kamara. I think he's got to carry them throughout this playoffs. Another one of my favorite players. Drew Brees is more of a game manager now. I think he always was, but he's not really doesn't have the throw power. He still has the accuracy, but it's going to be 5 yards down the field, 10 yards. It's not going to be much over 15. So I'm going to go with Saints. I like the Bears. I'm going to say this lightly. I kind of like Trubisky. I think if he had a better coach, I think he would be a better quarterback. I really do
Really?
think that. I'm one of those guys that's kind of hot, not high, but I think he's just a subject of bad coaching. I like everything that he offers. I like his legs, like his toughness. I like the Bears. Bears are another team I think would be a perfect place for Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson went to the Bears, it's like he should have done in the draft. They would be one of the best teams in the NFL hands down. But I'm gonna go Saints. I'm gonna go like 30-20, 30-23 Saints.
Oh. Honestly, I thought I don't know. I'm indecisive on this game because I agree with you. I feel like the Bears can really like. I just feel like they can really push something out. They can. David Montgomery get it going on the ground or something, or even Mitch. Mitch has a big game. Who knows? But I have the Saints taking this one by quite a margin too, 27-10. They were on a 6-game losing streak, and then they had 3 easy games towards the end of the season. I think they faced like Jacksonville, Houston, some teams that really aren't much of a challenge.
Yeah.
And this team gets carried by their defense. Their defense is one of the best in the league. They have a lackluster offense. Their offensive line is terrible.
Yes. David
But
Montgomery's good. Allen Robinson is so good. I love
Allen
Allen
Robinson is a
Robinson
great receiver, and I feel like his career is being wasted there in Chicago.
until he comes to the Jets.
You can't predict that, okay?
I hope so.
The Giants are in the market for Allen Robinson too, but I mean, free agency.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that when it gets to that time. But like you're saying, Matt Nagy, he's just Trubisky just doesn't really have a good coaching staff around him. I like Matt Nagy. I just don't think he's a good play caller. And I feel like Trubisky he doesn't have as much talent to succeed as he should. I mean, he has Allen Robinson and David Montgomery, but like I said, the offensive line is terrible. He has like Darnell Mooney, and that's it. I mean, this team really does get carried by their defense, and I don't think the Bears are going to get it going on offense against the Saints defense.
Yeah,
Uh,
isn't the Saints ranked 1? Aren't they ranked number 1 in the league?
I think they're a top 5 defense. They might be one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So like I think if the Bears got to get it going, they're gonna give David Montgomery the ball, like I said, and the Saints are ranked 4th in rush defense. They still have a strong front seven. They have Marcus Davenport, um, but God, I can't remember anybody else really. But
That other guy that had like 13 and a half sacks that no one knows who he is. They have that guy on the offensive line. He had 13 and a half sacks, and I don't even know his name. Like, I never heard of him.
13 and a half sacks, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know his name. Hold on. Let me actually pull this up.
Well, this is also Drew Brees' last. This is like Drew Brees' like last chance at a Super Bowl push too. So I really do think the Saints have a lot to play for. They're playing for Drew
Mm-hmm.
Brees. They're playing for Sean Payton. Who knows? Sean Payton's years in New Orleans are probably dwindling down too. So I like the Saints in this one. Like I said, 27-10. But who knows? The Bears could cover the spread. They could even beat the Saints. It's an unpredictable year, guys.
Yeah. Trey Hendrickson is his name.
Trey Hendrickson. I haven't heard of that
He
guy.
has 13 and a half sacks, tied with Aaron Donald.
Really?
Yes, no one knows. I've never heard of him. Like, he just pops out of nowhere. And I look at the stats. I'm like, this has 13 and a half sacks, and no one's talking about him.
Is he a D tackle?
I think he's a D end. I think he's the opposite of Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan, God, another guy that you have to watch out on that Saints defense. That he's getting up in there in age, but he's still a huge playmaker on that defense. He's an anchor. But yeah, I just don't see the Bears winning this one. I just don't.
Yeah.
So this actually, I earlier said that the Bucks and the Ravens games were really the ones that were grabbing my attention, but I take that back. I think the game I'm most excited for is the Browns Steelers game. What do you think about this game?
I really wish the Browns didn't get hit by COVID
Yeah.
COVID so bad. Because I really think they would just hand it to Pittsburgh, and I would love to see Pittsburgh get their just destroyed by the Browns.
Yeah.
I don't like Pittsburgh at all. I've never liked them. I'm not a fan of Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, man.
Not a fan of Big Ben. I think they're a very overrated team. When they went 11-0, you could see right through them. They weren't very good. They've had key injuries in their front seven with Bud Dupree out, Devin Bush. I mean, this is a team that's riddled with injuries, but they're probably going to pull away with the win because I just don't see how the Browns. I think they have Jarvis and Baker back, or Baker is never back. I think they have Jarvis and all the receivers back. I don't think they're missing any players, which is really good, but it's just a struggle. Who's going to call the plays? Because I know Stefanski called most of the plays, I think.
Yeah. They have their special teams coordinator calling the plays. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but that's going to be a huge blow.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Browns. I think the Browns could really win this because I think the Steelers are kind of cocky. Juju's came out and said a couple of things about the Browns, which just wasn't right. Like, just not right. I guess he's just trying to get. I don't know. I hope he gets hit sticked again. But I don't know. It's a tough one to call because the Browns could either come out and rally, or they could just get blown out. It's gonna be, and then the Steelers aren't very good, so they could just get blown out too. I guess I'm gonna go Cleveland. I'm gonna go Cleveland because my grandfather is a Cleveland Browns fan, so I hope they win. And I'm gonna go Cleveland. I'm gonna say they're gonna win 30-10.
God, I really want the Browns to win, but
That'd be the dream scenario.
I hate to say it, but I don't think it's gonna happen. As much as I want the Browns to win, they just have the worst luck in the NFL, dude. It's just so stupid. It's like the football gods just hate like the Browns for some reason, and they hate the city. It's like every major like sports franchise or league, whatever it is, Cleveland's always the butt of the stick, no matter what. The Browns, they can't catch a break. Edge rusher Olivier Vernon, he's out with a ruptured Achilles.
That's a huge
That is
loss.
a
That is a
huge loss.
huge loss.
And then you have Pro Bowl guard Joe Bitonio. He's out with
Yep.
COVID because of COVID protocols. Jack Conklin is questionable. Myles Garrett is questionable, and
Oh,
Sheldon
geez.
Richardson. They're all questionable. And
I didn't realize those guys were questionable.
I mean,
I'm still gonna rock with it though.
even if say that Jack Conklin and Sheldon Richardson doesn't play. I mean, those are two key guys to the team, and you can still have Myles Garrett and you can still have a good shot at winning the game. But I feel like if you don't have Myles Garrett, then your chances of winning the game are super low. You got to
Yeah.
get to Big Ben. The Steelers have a good pass protecting offensive line, but they're not going to get much done in the running game. So they're going to be passing the majority of the game. You got to get to Big Ben. So I think if Myles Garrett or Sheldon Richardson is out, I think it's a big blow to Cleveland. And like you said, Kevin Stefanski isn't calling the plays. And the Browns are returning to the playoffs for the first time since 2002, and it looks like people are already betting them off to win. So I want the Browns to win, but I have the Steelers winning this one 21-13.
Yeah, it's just probably more realistic than my pick, but I'm just gonna root for the Browns because I would love to see them pick up a win against the Steelers.
I want the Browns to win 100-0. I think that's everybody's dream scenario.
We all know why. We all know why we want them to win too.
Yeah.
We know someone that is very big with the Steelers. I would love it so bad. He would never hear the end of it.
Oh God, I want the Steelers to lose because of him, because I like poking fun at him sometimes, especially when the Steelers.
Because then we can now say, is Big Ben your comeback player of the year still?
Yeah. That's why I was talking to Sam about comeback player of the year. We want Alex Smith over Big Ben, and I think Alex Smith will get it, but who knows? We'll see. So Sam, I actually want to get into the Deshaun Watson saga.
Yes. So
I have a little timeline kind of typed up here. So obviously last year the Texans choked against the Chiefs. How much were they up by? Like
21-0.
Yeah.
Which really isn't that much since you're up against the Chiefs, but still.
That's a lot. I mean, how do you know that?
It's only, I think it was at the end of the first quarter, so there's a lot of time left. It's not like they were 21 up going into half or going into fourth. So yeah.
You'd think that Bill O'Brien and the offense could manage the game where they could at least keep, a 10-point or even a touchdown lead, but they couldn't. Oh my God, that game! I wanted the Chiefs to win, but I just felt so bad watching that game. For Texans fans, I felt so bad for them. And then after that, the Texans trade DeAndre Hopkins. We all know about that trade.
Yeah.
They trade him to the Cardinals for David Johnson, and they give the Cardinals a second round, or the Texans got a second and a fourth, but they gave up a fourth for David Johnson. Trade made no sense. Bill O'Brien's an idiot. And then Deshaun Watson, because he doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore, he has Kiki Coutier, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, Darren Fells, David Johnson, Duke Johnson. Decent playmakers, but nobody really stands out there to me. And the Texans have no first-round picks.
Will Fuller's really good, but he's just so injury-prone.
But he also got caught for the PEDs this year, so he got suspended for a few weeks. And lastly, Nick Caserio recently got hired. I think he was the Patriots player personnel or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was really close to Bill O'Brien. So it's basically Bill O'Brien 2.0.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe he'll blow up this team. I don't know how you.
And the owner told Deshaun he would have a voice in the hiring, and he just didn't. So
yeah, none of Deshaun's candidates got. I don't even think they got looked at, and
they have not interviewed Eric Bieniemy. They haven't asked for an interview. I just don't think he would take it.
They don't have any head coach right now, and Deshaun didn't even know about the signing of Caserio until he got notified over social media. What the hell's going on? What's going on over there in Houston?
Yeah, it's just a mess. If they never traded D Hop, this wouldn't be an issue. The thing is, I don't see how any head coach would want to take this job. I just don't see it. Even if they trade Deshaun, if Deshaun wants out, I don't know who they're gonna hire, because they have no picks next year. I think they have no picks. They have no first and second round picks this year.
Yeah.
They have nothing. They literally have nothing. They don't have any cap. They're so badly capped out. So I just think as a head coach, if I was a head coach, I would stay away. I just would stay away. Deshaun's only diamond in the rough there, but he might be gone. He might be moved. I think he will be moved. There's no way he's going to be on the Texans next season. I just don't think there's going to be a way. There's just so many teams that are going to offer him trades. Um, but yeah, they're just a mess.
What if the Texans are stubborn like the Rockets are in the NBA with James Harden? What if they don't want to give up their superstar? I mean, I can't really blame them because Deshaun Watson, he's 25 years old and he's an elite quarterback already.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to trade him. You have to build up that draft capital, especially when you're having a new GM coming in. Who knows? Maybe Nick Cassero doesn't even want Deshaun Watson. He wants to bring in his own guys. The Texans, they're a playoff team last year and the year before that, and this team's blowing up already, and they're already rebuilding. And I think for the sake of the Texans and Deshaun Watson, he needs to get out of there. They got to.
Yeah.
They have.
I think they're different from the Rockets because the Rockets have a choice. I mean, the Rockets are still a decent team.
Yeah.
And I just don't think James Harden's worth much as a Nets fan. I really don't think he's worth anything really that much because as much as they're asking. I think you could get a necessarily fair trade out of Deshaun Watson because they have no leverage. They have no picks. They have nothing. So if I'm Joe Douglas, all right, Houston, you can have our second overall pick. You have Sam Darnold. You can have the Seattle's first next year. You can have 2 of our third rounders this year, and that's the deal. I would do that. And I think that's they get a lot of picks. I don't know if we have 2 seconds. If we have 2 seconds, I'd offer the second, but I'd keep like the 25th pick this year we have and like the 34th. That's what I would picks because the Jets still need to build a roster around Deshaun. It's not like we just get Deshaun and you're like, oh, it's so good. It's not like it's the Bears, the Saints. But I just think I would love Deshaun Watson. I would love if he ends up on the Jets because that's my dream scenario. I'd rather have him than a Justin Fields, a Zach Wilson, a Trey Lance, Mac Jones, a Penei Sewell. I just don't want to keep Sam Darnold. Everything's wrong with Sam. I love Sam as a person. Just footwork-wise, confidence, throwing. It's just nothing is right with him.
So you think the Jets could trade like a few picks and maybe Sam Darnold for Watson?
Even if we don't trade Sam Darnold, I think that's actually quite better because we could trade to – I know the Niners really want Sam Darnold, I think. So if we trade all right, give us your picks. Let's give us your – I don't think they have a first-round pick this year, but give us your first-round pick next year and give us a second this year or whatever, or a third, and that's a deal. And now we just gain more picks. We gain more draft capital.
Right.
You can move Sam Darnold to the football team, the Eagles, the Saints, the Steelers, the Colts. It's the same teams that might trade for Sam Darnold or Deshaun Watson. So there's a lot that can go on. I think the Jets are one of the only teams that can handle Deshaun's cap. I think the Jets have the second most cap space.
What is
it'd be interesting.
Watson's cap hit? Like
it's something crazy. They offered him a huge contract.
Like $150 million over. It's something.
It doesn't start till next year though, which is actually quite a bargain. But It's interesting though. What if the Texans go, all right, Jags, you want Deshaun Watson? We'll take the first pick.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think they'll do that, but it's just interesting scenario wise.
I have a lot of teams that like potential trade destinations for Deshaun Watson. I have the Panthers. They have Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater isn't a terrible quarterback, but he's getting older and he's just not as productive like as he was earlier in his career, especially since he had to deal with so many injuries. I also have the Bears on there. The Bears missed out on Deshaun Watson in the 2017 draft. They took Mitch. So who knows? Maybe the Bears is a trade destination. I also have the Broncos, the Lions, the 49ers because they need a quarterback and they need to get out of that contract with Jimmy G. I also have the Colts and the Patriots. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty fair. A sneaky one, I would go Dolphins.
I thought about that too, but
I think for me personally, I'm not high on Tua at all. I really don't think he's going to be that good. I think he's going to be the worst out of the 3 big ones.
Tua had flashes of like
just the way he throws the ball. He just flips it. I mean, not that he's lefty. It's just he flips the ball weird, and he's just very dink and dunk. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Tua.
It's just hard because they just spent a draft pick. I mean, they do have a top 3 draft pick. So who knows? Maybe they could.
They could just say, hey, we want Deshaun. We'll give you Tua, and we'll give you your pick back.
Yeah, exactly. I can see that happening, but I don't know. They just took a quarterback, and I feel like Brian Flores wants to see where they can go with Tua, and he might not be the guy. I'm not really sold on him yet. But yeah,
Imagine if they picked a Herbert.
yeah,
If they
yeah.
picked Herbert, that team would have been really good, really good.
I think a lot of analysts are projecting that the Dolphins are going to take Penny Sewell. So who knows? Maybe if the Dolphins
I
take
could see
Penny
them
Sewell,
going. I could see them really going a receiver at 3.
yeah.
I think Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith are. I think they're. I don't know. They could go Penei Sewell, but I think Penei Sewell might fall down to 5 personally.
But I mean, if they take Penny Sewell, I mean, who knows? Maybe they don't even need a new quarterback because Penny Sewell, he's just such a big prospect. He's one of the better tackles I've seen in a long time. Uh, and I feel like he can really be a game changer for that offense. Really bring in a lot of different like a lot of different potential situations where Tua is just more protected in the pocket, or they can hand it off to Myles Gaskins more. And, he has more room to run. So who
Yeah,
knows? Maybe the Dolphins don't need Deshaun Watson, but I think every single team in the NFL that really needs a quarterback, like even the Giants just took Daniel Jones, but I can't help but look at the Deshaun Watson and say, I would like to have him too.
I give Daniel Jones 1 year. He has next year is his final year
I'm
as a
giving
Giant. I
I'm
think.
giving him one more year to evaluate him. If he doesn't make a big step, then he's not the quarterback of the future.
Yeah, if he doesn't, I mean, it's not like he has to be like Josh Allen this year, but he needs to be decent. He needs to be a decent quarterback. He needs to show some promise, and he has. I mean, he has to have some games. I like Daniel Jones. I think he's all right. I just think he's a little bit inconsistent,
Yeah.
and I give it one more year, and then Joe Judge just be like, "You're out." And I like Joe Judge as a coach. I really like him. So
Love the Judge.
they need to get themselves a quarterback. But it's hard, easier said than done. But this is the year to do it. With quarterbacks on the move and stuff. So.
Yeah. But again, with Deshaun Watson, another spot that I do like a lot is the 49ers. I feel like the 49ers have the 12th pick this year. They could give Houston back they're not giving them back their pick, but they're giving them back a first round pick that they could utilize. And they could also get Jimmy G. Jimmy G, he has a huge contract. I think there's only 2 more years left of his contract. He's making like 27 million a
Yeah.
year, which is way too much for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe the Texans take that. Maybe Nick Casario takes that because he has ties with Jimmy G back
Yeah.
in New England. So who knows?
I think the Texans are just most desperate to get picks. I think they want to draft their own players. They want to get their own prospects. They want to build these guys up because they have nothing. They have to restart. That they traded everything for Laramie Tunsil.
Mm-hmm.
Laramie Tunsil fun, as I like to call him, because when he got do you remember when he got drafted? He slid so much because of that picture that got released.
Yes, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, so I call him Laramie Tunsil fun because no one wanted him, and now he's good.
He's a
So,
good
but
tackle. He is.
he's a good tackle, but they just have no picks, and they didn't get they could have easily gotten a first round pick for D Hop easily, and they just didn't. So it's I don't know. They're a mess. I think they're just desperate for picks, to be honest. Maybe a young quarterback like Sam Darnold. I think Jimmy G's like 27, 28.
Yeah, somewhere up there. He's
So
getting up
I
there in
mean,
age too. Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows? There
I
might
mean,
e- there might even be a Jimmy G reunion in New England. And there's a lot to. I mean, there's a lot on the table this offseason. There's a lot to be determined, especially with the draft. So, how about we get into the draft?
okay.
Who do you have your Jets taking at number 2?
That's tough because we could either trade out or we could draft a quarterback. It depends on what happens with Sam Darnold or Deshaun Watson. If we trade for Deshaun Watson, that pick is probably traded to the Texans. If we trade Sam Darnold, if we keep Sam Darnold, it might be Penei Sewell, or we move down to draft a wide receiver in Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Right now, as it is, I'm going to say the Jets stick at 2 right now. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just good for the purpose of this. The Jets stick at 2, and I think they're going to it's such a toss up between Zach Wilson and Justin Fields because I like them both. I'm high on Zach Wilson. I think he could be really good. And watching Justin Fields play against Clemson, that was nuts. So I think the Jets will go with Justin Fields at 2. I think that's what they're gonna do. If they don't get Deshaun and if they trade Sam Darnold, they're not gonna keep on Sam Darnold, which I don't think they're gonna keep Sam Darnold. So that's what I would do.
I like Justin Fields. He has a he has a good skill set. He's a mobile quarterback. He makes good decisions in the pockets. He has. I mean, he has a pretty good arm too, and he's an accurate quarterback. But I just I hate to say this, and it's kind of like a cliche, but Ohio State quarterbacks never pan out in the NFL.
Yeah.
You look at JT Barrett. Um, you look at Dwayne Haskins just recently. Ohio State quarterbacks just never really have big careers in the NFL, and I'm hoping Justin Fields can really like go against that narrative and prove everybody wrong. And who knows, maybe he'll work out in New York. But the Jets have so many options here. Like you said, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's another guy that I'm really high on. I like Zach Wilson coming out of BYU, a smaller school. He kind of blew up college football. He took the league by storm. But I guess there's a lot of problems with Zach Wilson. I heard a lot of rumors that there's problems with his like his personality,
Oh,
not
really?
necessarily his work ethic, but a lot of people say he's kind of like a little bit of a diva. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's true, but I mean that's interesting.
The dream scenario for me, this is the absolute dream, and this is just not going to happen, is Justin Fields throws 7 TDs against Alabama, and the Jags pick him first with Urban Meyer.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about
And the
because
Jets get Trevor. Oh, my
exactly.
gosh.
I mean, everyone's saying that the Jags are going to take Trevor, but I mean, Trevor's like you and I discussed before. He's the top quarterback in the draft, no doubt. But I mean, Justin Fields and Urban Meyer, they have history together, and that could really work out well for both guys there in Jacksonville. And
And some people might some people, I've heard some people say that Justin Fields has closed the gap between Trevor Lawrence watching him play this
mm,
year. So I think it's now, it used to be Trevor Lawrence and then Justin Fields. I think it's a little bit closer now, but I mean, it's still such a long shot. I mean, if the Jags don't take Trevor Lawrence, that is such a big, like, this is a dummy move, I think. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has got it all, in my opinion. He's got it all. I mean, then again, Trevor Lawrence could be a bust. He could just get in the NFL and just be terrible. So I mean, it's still Trevor Lawrence is not a definite, but yeah.
hmm. I'm just curious, who do you think like if the Dolphins, I mean, if they keep their number 3 pick, they don't trade it, they don't give it back to Houston for Deshaun Watson, whatever we talked about, who do you think the Dolphins will take? I said I think they'll take Penny Sewell, but that's just me. You said they
That could be a shout. I mean, I don't know who they have at left tackle. They have Austin Jackson, who they drafted last year, and another guy, so they could upgrade.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it's the Dolphins. I mean, if they really are high on Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, when everyone's there, they could take him. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I think Tua showed them enough this year, to be honest with you. Penny Sewell or Jamar Chase or a receiver, I think, is what's going to happen.
Jamar Chase, that I just wonder if Jamar Chase, if he goes to Miami, like how will that work out with Tua? I don't know. I like Tua, but I just don't have 100% like confidence in him. I don't.
Yeah, me either.
This draft is just so interesting, and my Giants have the 11th pick, and
Let's
God,
talk about the Giants. Let's talk about the Giants.
I want the Giants to take Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, I mean, he's not the best player in the draft, but he's a top 10 prospect, and I want the Giants to take him so bad. He just won the Heisman. Him and Mac Jones went off the season. You know, he broke a bunch of SEC
Mhm.
records, broke a bunch of college football records. I love Devontae Smith, and I want the Giants to take him, but he's not going to fall to 11. There's no way in
I don't
hell.
know. There's possibility it could. Even if not, I think Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith falls to 11. I think if you look at I don't know what the exact draft order. I can pull it up right now just to look, but I think there's a high chance that he could fall to 11. I
The only
mean,
problem I have with that is so let's just run through the top 10 real quick. You have the Jags. The Jags have a couple decent receivers. They have DJ Chark, he's still a young guy. They have Keelan
mhm.
Cole. They just took LaVisca in this year's draft. So I don't know. Jacksonville, they're clearly going to take a quarterback. They need a quarterback. The Jets too. They need a quarterback. Who knows? Maybe they stick with Darnold. Who maybe they trade out of the top 10. Um, the Dolphins, like you said, they could take a receiver. The Falcons, I don't necessarily think they need a receiver, but there's also news coming out this week that Julio is possibly going to be on the trade block coming up here in the next few weeks. So maybe they shop Julio and they get some more
Yeah.
draft capital. Maybe they trade out of the top 10. The Bengals don't need a receiver, but the Eagles scare me. I'm afraid that the Eagles are going to take Devontae.
Yeah, Eagles will probably go receiver there, I think. Or they could go.
Or they could take Jamar Chase. Who knows? Maybe I don't know if Jamar Chase will
Yeah.
fall to 6. Maybe he will.
I mean, the people that I don't think are going to take a receiver, I don't think Denver will. They picked 3 last year. Dallas won't. Carolina might, but I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. No.
Detroit
Kenny Golladay.
Detroit might because Kenny Golladay may be on the move. They might pick a wide receiver, but I think they have bigger needs in Detroit than that.
Yeah. The Cowboys don't need another receiver. So
no. Yeah, I think you have a good shot. I mean,
the Giants,
Atlanta, it's tough. I don't know. Eagles, I think, are going to pick a receiver.
I think worst case scenario. I mean, the Giants need wide receivers. A glaring need right now. We have Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, and they're fine on their own. But Daniel Jones needs another weapon. But worst case scenario, I think the Giants take Jalen Waddle. If Jamar Chase and if Devontae Smith get picked in the top 10, then I think the Giants are gonna go with with Jalen Waddle, the other extremely explosive wide receiver out of Alabama. But also I think the Giants need an edge rusher.
Hold on a second. What is Evan Ingram's contract?
Evan Ingram's contract. Oh God,
is he free agent next year? Because Kyle Pitts from Florida is scary.
Kyle Pitts, I like Kyle Pitts, but I hate to say it.
This mock draft,
we're not going to move on.
Mock draft has the Giants picking Devontae Smith.
I hope the Giants take Devontae Smith.
But this is a little weird because they have CBS has the Lions trading up to 4 with the Falcons and drafting Trey Lance.
Really?
Yes, and Justin Fields goes to the Panthers trade up with Miami and get Fields at 3, and the Jets go Zach Wilson at 2.
This is one of the more interesting drafts in recent memory, in my opinion. It's just you have Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, 2 like extremely good quarterbacks, and then this wide receiver class is just so stacked. Another guy that I want the Giants to take, but I feel like he's kind of a project, is Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. Gregory Rousseau, he's the dude's tall. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He's 250 plus pounds, but I feel like he relies a lot more on his athleticism rather than his mechanics. So I feel like he could be a good pass rusher in the league, but he only played 1 year in Miami because he opted out this year, and then he got injured like his freshman year or something like that, or sophomore year. But another guy that I kind of want the Giants to take, but it's just hard. There's so many people. There's Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I think he's not that bad. I'm not 100% sure what Dave Gettleman and the Giants are going to do in this season.
I mean, as for the Jets could trade back to like 9 or so and draft a corner. They could draft Caleb Farley, or they could draft Micah Parsons. They could go defense here. So they could go Rousseau. They could go Surtain. There's these corners. There's these corners that the Jets might be high on that they might trade back and get. Or they think they can grab Darion Kendrick at 25, Clemson, or I know they like Wyatt Davis from Ohio State, interior offensive lineman. So the Jets have some movement to do. I think they're going to move a lot in this draft. I think they're going to have a huge offseason. Joe Douglas is a very very aggressive GM, I think. So I mean, he finessed the Seahawks, in my opinion, for Jamal Adams. So
what did you guys get back for Jamal Adams? I can't remember. You got
2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a starting safety.
You guys won that trade.
Yeah. I mean, I think we gave him a 3rd or a 5th or something.
You have Marcus May at safety too. I like Marcus May a lot. He's a very underrated player.
I love Marcus May.
He's one of PPF's or Pro Football Focus. He's one of their higher graded defensive backs too.
Yeah.
I take what they put out with like a grain of salt sometimes, but Marcus May, I like him a lot.
So the Jets traded the Seahawks a 2022 4th-round pick and Jamal Adams for Bradley McDougald, a first and 3rd-round pick in 2021, and a 2022 1st-round pick.
You guys got a lot of draft capital. And you
So
guys are picking. You said you had the 25th pick. Yeah, you guys have the 25th pick. Who do you think you're going to take with the 25th?
I've seen Chris Olave out of Ohio State, wide receiver.
Hmm?
Wyatt Davis, interior offensive lineman. Travis Etienne, Najee Harris.
Oh, I like Travis
It
Etienne.
it
Najee Harris is
depends.
another player I like too.
I'm a Najee Harris type of guy, but I think we get him in the second round,
You
so I'm
guys
not
can
really sure.
definitely get Najee Harris in the second round. I think. There's not too many teams on this in the draft in the first round that really need a running back. I think the Jets could snag an off. I don't know. There's just a lot for you guys to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know more than me, and I do like Najee Harris. If the Jets can get him with 25, then hey,
And
that's
it
not a
kind of
bad.
depends with our personnel, like who we hire as a head coach. If we hire
Right.
Arthur Smith from the Titans, I think we're definitely going to draft Najee Harris. I think that's a definite. I mean, he's a run focused offensive coordinator, so I think that's who we would draft in the second round. But I mean, right now, I think it's a little bit too early to really know what's going on because the Jets could trade out, teams could trade up. There's so many things that could happen. I don't really know right now. I know there's some prospects I like. I know there's some prospects the Jets like. But that's now. They could figure out this one prospect has a bum knee or something that they haven't told about. They could have an attitude issue. They could, So there's a lot of things that could happen in between now and the draft. The combine, like
Right.
no one was talking about Mekhi Becton at this point last year. No one was talking about DK Metcalf 2 years ago at this point. So they had awesome combines. DK Metcalf had probably the best combine in NFL history.
Yeah.
So I mean, and look where he is now. And he was still drafted in the second round. And look where he is.
Yeah.
So the combine's gonna be a huge.
The combine is so hit or miss sometimes, though. You can determine a
Yeah.
lot, like you said with DK, and then other guys like John Ross has an amazing combine, and then he's just a
Yeah.
fluke in the NFL.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. There's a lot on the table here in this year's draft. I'm hoping the Jets make some good moves because even though I don't necessarily I don't love the Jets, but they're another New York team, and I always like to see New York teams do well. I'm happy to see the Bills doing well right now. And if the Jets can get it going next year, maybe the Giants and the Jets alongside they're rebuilding, they get to the playoffs maybe in the next couple of years together. So that'd be awesome to see. But that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. It was awesome having Sam here. We're talking draft, talking to Deshaun Watson in the playoffs. Very excited for this weekend. I'm gonna come back at you guys for some more content after Wild Card Weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video. Sam, thank you for coming again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was really fun.
This is John from Odyssey Sports checking out, and I hope you guys have a great day.